a fan favorite here in New York with his high-octane game.
One of the most beloved Knicks in franchise history.
Well, Mace was obviously a tough player, mentally, physically. He can do a lot of things out there on the court. A guy his size, 6'7", can handle the basketball, play the point guard position.
Anthony Mason of the New York Knicks was named winner of the 1994-95 NBA Sixth Man Award.
For all the young kids coming up, that's my little motto too, to never give up. You know, if you want to be something, keep striving for it, no matter how long it takes.
The Knicks are up for a good game tonight. They just seem to have a lot of animation and a lot of spirit.
Mason in on Parrish. John, what kind of those out the first half last night, giving them 28 first half points?
Just a beautiful setup by Kenny Anderson on that play.
Mason, well, there's Mason mixing it up a little bit. He's trying to... Both teams have made 4 shots. The one that's at 10. Mason's right up. Second foul. And Jeff Van Gundy's gone to his bench. Ewing's hot, so is Johnson. Starts for 3. Anderson. Well, if you like shots, you're going to steal a lot of them.
Everybody's firing away here.
Mason for Ewing, open again. Mason on the foul. Thanks to John. The bench for Charlotte. Quick lead down to 3. It's a 7-2 Hornet run. Ewing goes up big. Miami wins. Their game, they're in. Charlotte's got to win to keep them strong. They can still get in.
Gundy's got to keep an eye on that situation. It's coming too easy for Rice. He looks at the basket.
Mason at the line for a Knickerbocker team that's been shooting away from Larry Johnson. Kicks on the run. Anderson. Charlotte did a good job to get back. Larry Johnson steps into Anthony Mason, who has the double team. Behind his back, over the shoulder. And it rolls for Willie Anderson. Madison Square Garden. Al Trowick from Marv Albert, along with John Andres and Mike Crispino, of course. Mason with the foul. Shot for 3.
Knicks did not do much at the foul line because they didn't get there.
Ewing pulls on Parrish. Draws the expected double team. Knicks go back at him. Spins, sees Mason. Oh, Patrick Ewing's passing. The Knicks with the longest stretch of time without having a player register a triple-double. Ewing, 17 points. Teams are Knicks at 53, Charlotte at 57. Ewing, triple team. Mason sees an opening. And it rolls in. With the foul. Ewing is very into this. You know what? This is what you love to see.
Wide open lane, and Mason plows his way in. This is one of the
It's on Larry Johnson. Anthony Mason spinning inside. Harper turned back by Raphael Addison. He's working hard. Williams has Mason open.
Do you believe how wide open?
Knicks look to post on Mason. He's telling Starks to move away so that Glenn Rice doesn't double down. Mason. Great looking jump up.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Go School Retro NBA, episode 19. Join me as I discuss the illustrious career of one of my favorite players of all time on the Knicks, Anthony Mason. If you guys don't know who Anthony Mason is, stay tuned because I'm going to school you on one of my favorite Knicks of all time. And one of the most respected Knicks of all times, even by all-time greats Ewing, Oakley, and a slew of others. Make sure you stay tuned to this episode. Anthony Mason was a phenomenal player. If you guys don't know who Anthony Mason is, I'm going to school you on everything. So make sure you listen, pay attention, because his heart means dear to me because he's one of the first Knicks I ever met. and actually got an autograph and got to interact with. And I felt like he was someone I knew. He made me feel like he was one of my friends in the short few minutes that I spoke to him at All-Star Weekend at Jacob Javits Center. So let's get it started. Anthony Mason was one of the original point forwards. Think about it like this. He was like a power forward wing, but he had the point guard skills of a backcourt guy, as said by one of his coaches in the U.S. Basketball League, who said he would eventually make the NBA one day, and he did, and he made his reign. You will never think that this guy, the way he went through it, and I'm talking about, I could relate to it because as a New Yorker, and he's from New York, Springfield Gardens. He went to high school at Springfield Gardens, actually. And he actually ended up getting recruited by Tennessee State University and would play all 4 years. But his way into the NBA was unconventional. He had to go through a lot of different teams, a lot of different basketball associations before he made his name. And you talk about getting through the mud, this is what Anthony Mason was. He was a 6'8", 255 burly guy who had a post-up, mid-range, and had passing skills of a passing point guard, which was phenomenal because it just to show you that like how diverse his game was. He was a dog, didn't back down from anybody. He wasn't one of those guys that, you know, like today's NBA game where he's very friendly on the court. Like even if he was friends with people, it wouldn't show it. Like he wouldn't go out to dinners. He wouldn't do any of that type of stuff. He would just go out there, play hard, and wouldn't back down from any opponent, whether it was a superstar, a role player, anybody. He didn't take crap from nobody. And this is what I loved about Mason, because he was just basically the prototypical New Yorker who just grinded and got it out the mud and basically just took over and actually became an all-star. And again, and I hold that dear to my heart. He was 6'8", 255. He was selected after playing at Tennessee University all 4 years, round 3 pick number 53. But he was eventually cut very shortly after, where he would spend time overseas he would go on to play for Pilsen in Turkey for 1 year. Following season, he would end up with a short stint with the New Jersey Nets. And the year after that, he would end up in Tulsa of the CBA. That season with the Tulsa Fast Breakers of the CBA, he averaged 29 and 14 rebounds. He made a name for himself. And let me tell you something, he was one of the best players in that association. And if you guys don't know, man, I suggest you look it up, read up on it, and stay tuned with me because I'm going to give you everything you need to know on here about it. A lot of coaches in there since day one have said that they knew he was NBA talent ready, and he would actually prove that after averaging those 29 points and 14 rebounds for the Tulsa Fast Break of the CBA. That following season, he will go into the USBL, which is the United States Basketball League, and this is when the league would get put on notice with Anthony Mason, especially by Pat Riley, because he was a Pat Riley type of guy. And even quoted as his coach, Ed Kraminski, once said that he was NBA ready and that he was a big guy with backcourt skills. So that tells you something about his game right there, because for a guy his height and weight to have skills of a point guard in that modern era of the NBA, it was unseen for a player to have that type of skill set. He will go on to average 27 points, 11 rebounds, and make the USBL all-first team. Mind you, one game, he actually grabbed 28 rebounds. You heard that right, 28 rebounds. This is how good Anthony Mason was. Mace was just a dog, man, and you know what? He proved it. And guess what? He caught the eye of a legendary coach, as I stated before. Pat Riley took notice, and he was eventually brought onto the Summer League roster with the Knicks, where he would eventually make the team because he was so gritty, so rugged, and he was so phenomenal rebounding, passing, bringing the ball up as a point forward, because there wasn't too many guys that could do that. Mason was one of those guys that he would be able to accomplish that feat. He would go on to be one of USBL voted in, actually, by the fans when they celebrated their 15-year anniversary. He would be voted in as a top 15 USBL player of all time. If you guys don't know, United States Basketball League, there was a lot of phenomenal players that were on that list and actually made the top 15. Mason was one of them, with a slew of others. Michael Adams, Hot Rod Williams, who played for the Cavaliers, Manute Bol, and Spud Webb. So they came out of a lot of good players that came out of that association, and Anthony Mason was a staple to that, and they all made a name for themselves, and they all would have illustrious careers. Fatal will have it, he ends up becoming a Knick, as I stated before, in 1991 under Pat Riley. He joined an illustrious front court with those phenomenal Knicks in the early 90s with Charles Oakley, Charles Smith, and Patrick Ewing. And I remember those teams very vividly. There was one game in instance in that year where he hit his plateau, where he reached his career high at that moment. It was a game. He pulled down 30 points and 16 rebounds in a 105-95 win against the Lakers. And I remember that game vividly because he took over. And this is not the only game that Anthony Mason ever took over. There's so many games I remember as a kid growing up and then going into my early teen years, watching Anthony Mason. And he would have that Garden rocking with his energy, with his ball movement, with his pizzazz around the paint. Because if you guys don't know, he had a knack for finding the guys around the lane, in the passing lanes, the inside-outside game, because he was so strong and burly. He would challenge a lot of front court players to guard him one-on-one in a back-down situation. He would draw a lot of double teams, and being that we had a lot of floor spaces like John Starks, we had Hubert Davis, guys that could shoot the rock. That inside-outside game was like basically unstoppable, because if he had, let's say he was going up against Larry Johnson one-on-one, for a prime example, because that happened a lot when he was with Charlotte, he would back him down, and then in the corner will be waiting Starks. And by the time the defender is already double, comes and misses a split second. All you needed was that split second, and then Starks was money hitting that three-point shot. So he was just a part of those illustrious teams. I mean, those teams had the Garden rocking. I mean, I remember as a kid going to games and seeing him play. It was just great, man. I mean, something to behold, man. If you guys ever seen him play in person, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about, on TV or in person. The energy that man brought to the game was just unmatched, man. I mean, he doesn't get talked about when we talk about Knick greats, but I have him up there in my personal, like, Mount Rushmore of Knick greats, because I know that, like, Anthony Mason is a guy that I think every, like, playoff team or every good team that's trying to get into contention needs, because the guy could rebound, the guy could bring the ball up and play point forward, he could play make, he could shoot the mid-range, and he was a great free throw shooter too. His mid-range games was just phenomenal. He had like a little unorthodox form, but it will always go in. He was a big reason why we made it to the NBA Finals in 1994. Unfortunately, we lost to the Houston Rockets. Hakeem Olajuwon was too much for us. But he was a big reason why, because this man took over games, and everybody who knows and watched that team that year knows that there was a lot of instances where he would get buckets and he would take over games. And that's what the dog and he was, because Anthony Mason, a.k.a. Mace, was a dog. All New York, grit and grind. And then the following season, a testament to his hard work, would have it that he would win Sixth Man in the Year, 94-95 season, led the league in minutes with 3,457 minutes played, setting a Knick record. And that goes to tell you the type of player he was, because without the grit and grind and his unorthodox way of coming into the league, it shows you from where he came. He started from the bottom and he came all the way up to work his way into being Sixth Man of the Year. So this is a testament to all the hard work that Mace put into the game. Unfortunately, it broke my heart that the following season he was traded to the Charlotte Hornets 96 season with Brad Lohaus for Grandmama Larry Johnson, who I'll be covering in a future episode. But at that moment, man, I was heartbroken, man, because let me tell you a story, man, before I get to his Charlotte Hornet destination. This right here, I still hold dear to this day, because I remember vividly that 96, that All-Star weekend, I met Anthony Mason. I was coming in through the courier doors, and I seen Anthony Mason. I walked by Rebecca Lobo, but she was in the cage being interviewed, so I couldn't really get to her. So I saw Mason. I was like starstruck. You know, mind you, I'm like 13 years old at that time. Die-hard Knick fan. I'm talking about head to toe. You know, I love basketball. You know, I'm saying the things that they did for me in my life. And just seeing Anthony Mason there, one of my idols as a Knick and one of my underrated Knick players, I went right up to him with all the courage. I tapped my father. I said, "Yo, Dad," I said, "Anthony Mason's over there." He's like, "What?" So he walks me, "Come on, let's go up to him." So somebody on the left was selling posters of like Knick players. So they had Allen Houston, they had like all the good names. They had Charlie Ward. I was too scared to go up to Charlie Ward. Why? I don't know. I was just like, I was a timid kid at that time. But Anthony Mason was literally standing right in front of me, so I couldn't avoid it. So I got my poster. I gave it to him and say, "What's up, Mace, man? Big fan of yours. You know, I love what you do with the Knicks." You know, and then he's like, "Oh, man, damn, appreciate it, bro." And then when I tell you, man, me and my father was talking to him, and I was talking to him, and he was talking to us like if we were one of his homeboys or like somebody he grew up with, because he was just so cool, man. And he was just like, I just told him, I said, I appreciate everything you do for the Knicks, man, and I love your story, how you came here and how you worked your way up, man. And I said, you're a role model to me, man. And he told me, though, I appreciate you, dog. And he dapped me up, man, gave my father a hardcore dap, and it was like, I couldn't stop talking about it on the train ride home, man. And I still got the autograph to this day, which I'm going to get framed. And I hold that dear to my heart, man. R.I.P. Mace, man, because if you guys don't know, he passed away in 2015. But it's just the sun goes to tell you, man, like the type of person he was, man. If you have accounts from like Knicks players and fans and anybody that's ever been around him, they always said Anthony Mason was the most humble. Even though he was a dog on the court, man, that dude had a big heart, man. And I gotta tip my hat to him, and that's why I have respect to him to this day, man. And I got nothing but love for Mace, man. But he wouldn't stop there. Once he got into Charlotte, he went right back to work. On November 2nd, 1996, he scored 18 points and pulled down 15 boards. His first double-double in a 109-98 victory against the Toronto Raptors. And this is a testament to tell you how hard and how, like how gritty he is, because he didn't let the situation, because I know it broke him leaving New York because he was a big part of the Knicks, and I know it kind of hurt him inside, even though I didn't really hear him speak about it publicly. But for him to go out there and to still handle his business, show that he's Mace, shows you the dog in him. On February 27, 1997, he would have another phenomenal game where he scored 28 points against the Orlando Magic on 11 for 11 shooting with 9 rebounds and 12 assists. This is to show you the type of work that Anthony Mason puts in, because this guy was a walk-in double-double, and he was just a testament to just hard work. And mind you, that turned out to be in a win versus the Orlando Magic, 124-110. So not only did he impact the game with his stats, he impacted winning, which means a lot to me. In 1997, he ended up recording another career landmark, a career high in minutes with 43 minutes per game. So that goes to show you that he was durable and that he was an Iron Man, and he would give it his all, night in and night out. 96-97 season, he would end it with 16 points per game, 11 rebounds, and 5.7 assists a game. So it goes to show you, man, this guy just did everything, rebounding, scoring, and passing. So the jack of all trades was Mace's game, bro. And that's what I'm telling you guys, that I love him so much for it, because he just loved the game, and he gave it his all, and he was a perfect team player that fits into any system and any role. The Hornets will go on to make the playoffs that year, but unfortunately they would get swept by the New York Knicks. And Mason had a pretty good playoff series. He had 13 points and 12 rebounds. He was pretty much doing the same things he was doing in New York, but the Hornets team was too much to handle with the Knicks, because the Knicks had a powerhouse at that time, and the Hornets couldn't match it. And unfortunately, they were swept by the Knicks. He was named that year to the All-NBA third team and the All-Defensive second team. So it goes to show you, year by year, he's knocking down accolades. He went from being out of the league, playing overseas, playing in the USBL, playing in the CBA, playing with multiple teams, ended up on the Knicks, ended up on Charlotte, and he's knocking down 6th Man of the Year, All-Defensive team, and All-NBA third team. This goes to show you that if you look at numbers, you don't really understand what players impact, because you have to watch what Anthony Mason did on the court to show his impact. Because while his numbers weren't like, some guys would say, well, how did he make All-NBA if he wasn't putting up 20, 30 points? This goes to show you can't look at the stats all the time. You have to literally watch the game and see the impact that he has, because every team that he's played for, he has elevated them or added to their core to put them into contention. And this shows you the hard work that Mason's put in. The following season, 1997-98, while his numbers didn't really match up to the previous years, he still got the Hornets past the first round as they beat a rival, the Atlanta Hawks. And if you guys don't know, man, them guys used to go to war back then. The Hawks and the Hornets had a little bit of rivalry. And for the Hornets to knock them out, I know that was a big feat for the Charlotte Hornet franchise, because they were a small market, and I know they were on the come up. But for them to beat the Hawks, man, the Hawks were their arch nemesis, and for them to knock them out, that was a notch under their belt, and I know Mace was very proud of that. He went up to put up 19 points and 8 rebounds a game, but unfortunately he ran into a wall with the Chicago Bulls and the greatest of all time, where they would be eliminated in that second round of that season. The following season, he would be marred by injury. He suffered a ruptured bicep in the 1998-99 season, where he would miss the whole entire campaign. On March 31st of that year in 2000, he got his first triple-double, hitting 31 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists. So That goes to show you all the great things he's been doing. He's knocking down double-doubles nightly, and then he actually got his illustrious triple-double on that night against the Raptors. Pretty phenomenal feat by Mace, man. That's the dog in him. Unfortunately, that season came to a halt, a screeching halt. They would get eliminated by the 76ers in the first round, and that would end the Charlotte Hornets campaign in 99-2000 season. Following season in 2000, he would be traded to the Miami Heat alongside Eddie Jones, Ricky Davis, and Dale Ellis in exchange for Jamal Mashburn, B.J. Brown, Tim James, Ronnie Buford, and Otis Thorpe would be sent away in the package to the Hornets. So it starts his new career in Miami and South Beach. And a lot of people don't remember that Pat Riley was the main one that wanted him in there. He brought him in as a role player, but fate will have it, they were contenders. And a lot of people remember those Miami Heat teams, they were really good that year. But unfortunately, Alonzo Mourning would suffer a kidney ailment that would sideline him for the rest of the year. And that would then thrust Anthony Mason, a.k.a. Mace, into the starting lineup, where he started right where he left off. He was putting up 16 points and 9 rebounds per game. And he ended up being the team's second leading scorer for Miami. Goes to show you the guy just keeps working and he keeps moving up and up and up. And guess what? He would reach the most illustrious plateau of them all. He made the All-Star game. And it was due in part because Grant Hill suffered injuries, so did Mourning. So they had a spot open and they voted in Anthony Mason. And let me tell you, when I found that out, man, I was jumping out of my room. I was like, yo, my boy Mace made the All-Star team. I was like, damn, I wanted him to make it here, but unfortunately it didn't happen. But I was so proud of him from far away. And, just seeing him make the All-Star team, it goes to a testament to show you the hard work that he puts in. And just you look at the microscope from his career to where he's at now. And, what will put him into the All-Star, conversation and put him into the All-Star game. Great and grind, New York right there, man. That's my boy Mace. And the one thing I remember with Mace, not only him making the All-Star team that year and being the team's second leading scorer, the Miami Heat was suffering a lot of injuries during that season. And he carried them on many nights, took over many games. And I remember watching those games on TNT. And Anthony Mason would just get that ball and he would just get to work. And he said, you know what, you guys are not stepping up or we don't have enough firepower. Put the ball in my hands and I'm going to go to work. And one thing about Mason is that he went to work and he took over the games on many nights and won the Heat a lot of games. And he actually got them into the playoffs, despite all the adversity that they faced. But unfortunately, when the Heat made the playoffs, he would struggle. He only put up 13 shots and had 5 points per game and 3 rebounds per game, thus leading to the Heat releasing Mace. Following a stint with the Miami Heat, he was picked up by the Bucks in the 2001-2002 season, where they would go 41-41 and they would miss the playoffs. Mace's numbers would drop dramatically with the Bucks that year, 9 points per game and 7 boards. He would stay one more year with the Bucks, but after that, he was let go, and eventually in 2003, Mace retired. So when I heard that news, I was pretty much upset because I started to see he was in a decline, and it hurt me to see that because I just know that all the stuff that he put in the game and all the hard work and all the accolades he pulled down from where he started. It hurt me to see that he was nearing the end of his career. His career stats would end with 11 points, 3 assists, 8 rebounds while shooting 70% from the free throw line. Pretty good stats from a guy that took himself to a 6th Man of the Year, made himself an All-Star, and after being cut out of the league and playing overseas and coming back and going through the journey he went through, that goes to show you the dog in Anthony Mason. Not only was Mace a man in the basketball court, he was a man on TV shows, and he was actually featured in music, in the music world. He was featured on Eddie, which was directed by Woody Allen, and he was also a part of one of my favorite shows back in the days, which was New York Undercover with Malik Yoba, and it was one of my favorite New York Undercover cop shows, and he was actually featured on a few episodes on there as well. He was also featured on Diamond D's video, The Best Kept Secret, which you guys don't know Diamond D, he was a hip-hop artist. And he was also featured in Beastie Boys, B-Boys Making. And that's just to show you that, man, this man just basically was an icon, man. As far as people knew him in the music world, the acting world, I mean, there was nothing that Mace wouldn't do. And also, he passed down his basketball genes to his children. Anthony Mason Jr. went out to play for St. John's University. And people don't know, he tried out for the Miami Heat, played for the South Fall, and ended up having a career overseas. His other son, Antoine, played for Niagara University, where he led the team in scoring as a sophomore as a redshirt which is pretty dope. He ended up transferring eventually to Auburn University, went undrafted, and ended up having a career overseas. And I know he vividly remember he plays for the tournaments in Orchard Beach, and you could catch him there sometime. I know he's had some stints over there playing in the tournaments, and I got to catch him one day. Unfortunately, in 2015, Anthony Mason would pass away due to a heart attack, and he also had congestive heart failure. So this is going to wrap up episode 19, Anthony Mason Mace. I hope you guys enjoyed this legendary career. I know this one was dear heart to me, and this is the thing I'm always going to have for me the rest of my life, man. So shout out to the Mason family and everyone that loved them, family and friends. I hope you get to watch this. I hold this episode dear to my heart, and I hope you as viewers and supporters always remember this because it's dear to me, because he was one of my favorite Knicks of all time, as I had the candid, vivid memories of meeting him and interacting with him. So this is going to wrap up episode 19, Go School Retro NBA. If you guys already don't know, follow me on Twitter at AriHoops84. You can follow me on Spotify, same thing, Go School Retro NBA. On YouTube as well, Go School Retro NBA. Make sure you subscribe, like, and show your boys some love. Thank you for tuning in to Anthony Mason, a.k.a. Mace. One love, y'all.